next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
Yeah.
So we are the movie Misfits, and today Anthony's going to talk about time traveling movies.
What you want about that?
was a huge
Number
fan.
3, all right. It goes back to the H.G. Wells, Time After Time, which is over there, all right. But it's awesome because, all right, so they take the time machine, right, and instead of just reinventing the wheel and going back and making another time travel movie, they put, so it's almost, all right, so it start out, think of it as a remake, all right. So you got the time machine. So instead of just remaking it, they put a twist on it. So you got H.G. Wells is the main character, the main, you know, and who H.G. Wells, who was the author of the original book, The Time Machine, right? In that time, all right, so it was like the late 1800s. So what happens is he's inventing this time machine. Instead of just writing the book, he's actually invented the time machine. And he has a party with a bunch of his friends, and they're all like doctors and lawyers and stuff, like the you know, upper crust of England. And one of his friends happens to be Jack the Ripper. He doesn't know that. Jack the Ripper murders his last victim, and the cops come looking for him, and so his last ditch to get away is he hops in H.G. Wells' time machine.
Jack Ripper?
Yeah. And he goes to I think this was out in the 80s. So he comes out in like 1980s Los Angeles. And he goes there and he's like fine. And so the time machine has this like key. So if the key is in there, I think if the key is in there, I forget if it's the key either has to be in it or it has to be taken out. But either way, it goes back to the original time. If you don't have, I think if you take the key out, it will stay. But if you leave the key in, it goes back to your time. Jack the Ripper didn't know that, and he left it in there. So he goes about L.A. and he starts murdering people. That's what he does. And the time machine comes back. So H.G. Wells follows him to L.A. and is chasing him, and it's the whole like, you know, he goes in there and he's in his like plaid, you know, like 1980s, and he's walking around L.A. like modern L.A. And he's looking for Jack the Ripper, but he's trying to deal with the whole like, I don't know what the fuck is going on in this world. You know, he's got cars and stuff, and it's just really, really fucking good. Malcolm McDowell plays H.G. Wells. He was in one of the Halloweens. Malcolm McDowell, he was the doctor, not Donald Pleasance. I don't know, did you see Clockwork Orange? He was in that.
I remember that. That's some of it.
He's like I don't know, you know him if you see him. And Jack the Ripper was played by I can't remember his name, but he's like a well-known actor. But it was just
not well enough for us to know, eh?
Huh? What's that?
Just not well enough for us to remember.
yeah, right. I wouldn't remember his name.
To the audience, you probably know him.
If you see him, you know him. I just don't remember his name. Just a great concept where
I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Time After Time, I just think of Cyndi Lauper. Time After Time.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
She's not in that movie, is she?
No.
Is
And
the
her song was not in it. No,
Okay.
I think it was out before.
All right.
Actually, no, it was probably around the same time. But yeah, I was definitely top 3. That's my number 3. Number 2, no list. You know, Back to the Future.
Yeah,
it's gotta be in
Back
there.
to the Future.
You know, how
made
can
no
that-
sense, but we loved it.
Yeah. Who doesn't love it? How can you not
How
love
can you
Back
not
to the
love
Future?
that movie?
There's really not much to say about it that nobody
will complain. Nobody will say,
it's-
you can't go into the future and see yourself. There's no such thing. It's all right. Let's give him a pass. They actually touched on that in Austin Powers because he started talking, and he looked at the camera, he's like, all right, you know, and he said, you know what, just have fun with it. Don't even try to explain it away.
But that's going in the future. Like I said, that was 2 and 3, which, all right, you can say what you want. Back to the Future, he went back in time. I fully think you would see, well, he doesn't see himself, he sees his father.
Because he went too far. He went way back and saw them as young. The first one made sense.
Yeah, right.
Made total sense.
Yeah.
The second one was also.
That's why this is only Back to the Future 1. That's on my number 2.
Yeah, that's definitely made sense. The second one was fun, but it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You can't go back and see. You can't go in the future and see your family.
Right.
You can't because
Yeah.
you just can't because you've been going that whole time.
Right.
He could have went and see who she remarried in your absence and her kids.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But if Doc came back and said, "Oh, you got to go something with your kids," I said, "Oh, well, then get him and have him go. I can't go because they won't be there."
Right.
You know what I mean?
So yeah, that's definitely a good point, man. I think
what do you want me to do? But I can't go. You go fix it.
I think we're gonna get some arguments on this. People watching this.
Yeah.
Well, for the audience, if you get into a time machine and you go into the future and you're going for 10 years, you're missing for that whole time you wasn't gone. No matter how many, for 30 years you've been missing for 30 years.
Like the people that are in the room when you left, you disappeared.
You disappeared, gone.
Yeah.
For you it's instantaneous, but where you been?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, what are we talking about? So
Yeah.
that would
Going
never.
back in time is different.
Definitely. Back in time is different. Then you can
yeah,
see,
right,
yeah,
back in
you can
time.
see. Go back,
But
slap
yeah,
yourself around.
I fully
but
agree.
You can't go in the future and see yourself
Yeah.
because you disappeared that whole time.
Exactly.
You've been gone.
Yep.
So that wouldn't make any sense.
You well, not that you no longer exist. You just don't exist in that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Doc, now you can have you can go in the future and come back and tell me about me, and I can do it for you.
Yeah.
That makes
Right,
sense.
right.
But we both can't go together because then Mario's gonna be old when we get there. And he's like, "Where'd you guys go? We had the podcast. You guys just disappeared for 20 years. Oh, we wanted to see ourselves. Well, you left."
Well, all right. Let's. All right. So let's say you went in the future, right? But if you ever came back,
You got to come back right on the same time.
but
Because if you come back a year later, your wife's gonna be remarried. You got to come back at this when you left. You got to come back when you left. If you come back, 5 years shy, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like say you go in the future for 30 years and you come back 15 years. You're not gonna be happy when you come home when you go to your house. You got to come back to where you left if you want to go back to normal.
But all right, so now and then now there's a second. All right, so you're
At
here
least
in
inside of
time.
a couple of
You're
weeks.
here in time, right? You go back. You go in the future, all right? Now, let's say you see yourself. You don't see yourself. If you don't exist, you could have died anyway. So if you went, after you went in the future
Yeah.
and you completed your travel and you came back,
Yeah.
you still might have.
Out of that future now?
That's one thing.
Well,
Yeah.
nothing changed. You can't change the future coming back. You're going backwards.
but
Whatever
you
you
can go back.
whatever you mess with over here and you come back here, it's not going to change anything because you're just coming back.
Well,
No, but then in the future you will be there again because you're.
Well, let's say this. All right, so your consciousness from this point in time, you go in the future and you see yourself and you have a conversation or something. Now, when you came back, this version of yourself that was over here, you saw yourself there, and maybe you didn't like what you saw, so you changed some shit about your life at this point, and now you're just gonna travel this time linear. So there is
Never happened.
maybe, yeah.
Never happened. Now, if you're here and you're like overweight, you look like shit. So then you get a time machine, you come back, find your younger version, say, listen, get off the cocaine, stop eating pizza every day, get in the gym because look how I look. This is you. What you're gonna look like? Okay, sorry. So you go back here, and then when you come back here, and if you're in shape and you get there, oh shit, he did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It worked. You know what I mean? That's how it works. You'll get out. You'll come back. And you come out like, oh shit, I got abs. Yes, he did it. Yes.
That could work the same way. So if you go in the future, you see yourself here. And
But how are you gonna see yourself once you
you're-
disappear? If you can't drive in the future, see
Because
yourself. You can go and see my future.
because you eventually came back
You're eventually gonna go
because
back.
you came back.
And
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
And?
that's the thing.
You're gonna see yourself that already. You might see yourself.
Because
as the
you
person
came
who
back.
was in the
Because at
future.
this point, all right. So you're here, right?
Yeah.
You travel in the future.
Yeah.
This future point of yourself.
Yeah. You're here,
We're in the
Storm.
future. No. This future. So you're gonna follow this in a string. So let's say like you have a line. All right. So let's do this like this. All right. So you're here. All
I knew
right.
I was gonna need aspirin for this.
All right. So you're here, right? So you jump in time
Yeah.
to this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, all right, you jump back. All right. So this is your time travel.
Yeah.
And then this is the regular line. So this is your path. You went here
Yeah.
to here
Mhm.
and then here. So that's it's all one line. It's one fluid line. This fucking diagram sucks. But but what I'm saying is, if your time travel is not a real science, so if you're trying to make a movie about time travel, you could explain it away like that. Like, this is, you jumped forward in time, and then you came back to where you originally started, and then you lived your life to that point. So
Right.
when you jump back in time, why would you not see yourself when you lived in this moment?
Because you disappeared.
But you disappeared, but you came back.
And if you agree, on the bottom, put your comments and see if you agree with me
yeah.
or agree with him. I believe, this is my thing, I believe if you're in a time machine, right here, you get in it. When you leave and you go, no matter how many years you go in the future, you've been gone that entire time.
Unless you come back.
Everybody else is aging. And then when you come back, it's back to normal. Unless, I mean,
But you still lived in this time.
Right, but
when you went to visit.
You could do it. You can go in the future, right, and go hide a rock, and then when you come back, and then 30 years you'll find that rock because you put it there in the future.
In 30 years, you're gonna see yourself there in that time machine again.
Maybe if you might see the tracks on the ground where the machine was.
At that moment you were there.
Yeah,
you were there in
that can
time.
happen. Yeah, that can happen. That's possible. But if you lived it, then you might, if you hide behind a tree, you might see yourself and then disappear. That might happen. But I truly believe your first trip, you're gone. Like remember when in part 2 they were like, oh, we can't go back because that's this timeline. If we go to this future, it's gonna be this future. We have to go all the way back to the beginning, which that made sense to fix it, so it'll be fixed. But Marty was like, why don't we just go in the future and get it? No, because we're gonna go in the future of this time. We have to go all the way back when Biff got the book from there. That's where we got to take the book from that point. That made sense, but not seeing himself. That didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very arguable concept, While you're down there.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at my number 1, and I'm going with Terminator.
Nice.
It's just as a whole, maybe the whole future, the time travel concept. Maybe
It's
was
definitely an original story.
Yeah, and it was
the whole concept.
it was solid. I mean, you can't poke too many holes in it. I mean, of course you can. With any time travel story.
We talked about earlier when Reese was talking to Sobman, and he said, "Oh, why don't you bring ray guns?" And somebody said, "No, you can't." It says that only flesh can go through.
Yeah.
So the Terminator is robots. So robots could have come through, but if you put flesh on it, it can come through.
Yeah, because the doctor made that argument. He was like, well, what about the why?
Yeah.
He said it's whatever he
Exoskeleton,
said.
the flesh.
Yeah.
So then if I was sitting there, I'd be like, hey, Sobman, why don't you put flesh over the guns?
Yeah, right.
You could have killed pigs.
In other words,
you could have killed pigs and put the guns in his ass, and then send him to the future with release.
Especially the supercomputers. Why didn't they think of that and invent Terminator with a gun for his arm? Instead of having arms, he has guns. And
also,
it's the same thing.
But what's confusing about that though is the liquid metal Terminator coming through. When it comes through, it's liquid metal.
Yeah.
It gets flesh when it gets its target. It didn't come in flesh.
Right. Yeah. So it's
You know what I'm saying? Like your skin turns to metal, so it's not real flesh then.
Yeah.
It just it's mimicking it.
Right.
It's not real like the 800 series has flesh over it.
Yeah.
And the 600 had rubber skin, I think, but the liquid is just mimicking the skin.
Right.
It's not real skin.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did he come through?
That's why it's not Terminator 1, 2, 3, and all that stuff. Like the original Terminator, and at the time it came out, it was just
when did that come out?
a
83.
breakthrough movie. It was like
It was a low budget too back then.
It was, yeah.
But then
And it didn't do great. I don't think it did great.
It didn't. No, when it went to video, it blew up like a maniac, like Highlander.
Yeah,
The first Highlander. Yeah.
But I mean, shit. You can get it. There's so many aspects of this movie that makes it great. Arnold Schwarzenegger being, I mean, think it was. What did he do before this? I mean, he had Pumping Iron and Conan.
Well, he did the villain.
The what?
The villain. It was a Western movie with
really?
with Kurt Douglas. Yeah.
Shit.
And he did Stay Hungry. He was in that too. Remember, he was with the bodybuilding boss with I think Bridges and Shelley Long, not Shelley Long, the flying nun lady, the one that was in
Sally Fields.
Sally Fields and Bridget, one of the Bridges, the young Bridge.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges,
Yeah, he was a bodybuilder on that.
Yeah.
But he was in the villain. I have it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't see it though because that's just too torturous.
But yeah,
But he did 2 Hercules versions. One that his accent was so heavy they dubbed the whole thing, and then when he finally learned English, they dubbed his English back in it. So there's his voice in that.
Role for this, for him than this,
not
like
talking much.
Robot, his voice was actually perfect. For him,
perfect. Yeah.
But he just that whole.
Now here's the thing for you. I got a question for you now. I think I touched on this one with you, Mario, because you're probably a diehard just as much as I am, and for the audience too. When Reese was dreaming, he was dreaming that he came back. He was coming in. They searched the dogs. They sniffed his finger. They came in. Reese, whatever, they came in, and he was looking at the picture. A Terminator actually came in.
Yeah.
The one of them that was probably an 800 because it had skin, right?
Yeah.
It came out, took the flap off. When he took the flap off, it was Franco Columbo. What version was he? Because if he was 800 and the 600 had rubber skin, what was he, like the 750? What was he? Because all the 800s look like him. In every movie, the 800s, that's the 800. So what version was Franco Columbo? If you watch somebody, he took the flap off, it said Franco Columbo.
Yeah. No, I remember.
And he had flesh.
Yeah.
He had flesh.
Yeah.
So what version was he?
I don't know.
Right?
Maybe it was the 800 point 2.0.
Actually, if he was dreaming, it was before this one came out.
Yeah.
Because Reese was dreaming, he was dreaming back.
Right.
So the 800s came out after, so he had to be like what, 720?
Well, he was dreaming back, but he was
You know what I mean?
forwarded.
So if he's
time,
the 800 and the 600, so he was a 700 series or something like.
In Terminator 2, wasn't he considered an 850?
No,
I
800.
said it was an 850 series.
No, 800.
I read something like
Is it?
850.
No, it's probably joking. It's 800. Yeah, it was 800. But like I remember specifically it was Franco Columbo. He took off the thing and he had flesh. He wasn't rubber skinned.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a rubber skin series because he got through the dogs, and then the dogs started barking, and then actually at one point his eyes started glowing or something like that, and and then they show the picture and Sarah Connor when she takes it at the end of it, it starts burning.
Yeah, it starts burning. Yeah.
And then they show the robot again. His eyes are glowing, which doesn't make any sense because he came in, his eyes weren't glowing. He had eyeballs.
Yeah.
So that didn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
contacts.
Yeah, maybe. But what if you know? Put in the comments what the version is. We'll have to look it up one day and Google it. What version was Franco's Columbo's Terminator in part 1?
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean that's.
Is that, what are we at?
That's it. That's my number one. Yeah. Like I said, it's number one. Maybe it just hits all the it's a good movie, well-made movie, groundbreaking movie. I mean, as far as the time it came out.
There was some other ones that I touched on, like the Minority Report was one. There's a few other ones.
Yeah. I mean, Minority Report. It was
because I was like they knew
maybe not time travel, but like more like seeing.
They can see the future, and then they go in and make.
But I mean, what
Quantum Leap.
The Terminator did for James Cameron. I mean, it was a big leap for him, and it set a lot of things in motion.
I don't think he touched on that. Yeah. Because that movie was like okay, it wasn't great.
Yeah, I just
it was like,
I feel dirty.
I
feel dirty putting Van Damme on any of my lists. But like I said, it's not an extensive list. This is just movies that.
But that movie was weird though, because you in the time cop, you got in a vehicle, and you went flying into the wall, but when you came out the other side, you came out not in a vehicle anymore. You just came out and landed in the water on the ground. Remember that?
Yeah.
And when you came back, you came in a vehicle. Remember that?
Yeah.
You walk through the and then and he gets out. Where was it?
Yeah, but that's what I like about time travel stuff is this.
Where did it go?
As a director, there's so much you can do it. Or as a writer, you got so much like freedom to make your own science, But I mean that's not to hold it. That's all we got for today.
Return the map.
We will be returning next week with a new show, hopefully.
If you like this, press like, hit subscribe. If we keep it going.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions?
This is new, a little raw. We're this is our very first show, and we're gonna get better at it. And your input will help us do that. Yeah. I think not wanting to know what you want to do, you want to hear. We have, I'm Anthony. This is Norman. We are the movie Misfits, and we do have a pretty we're movie lovers. So anything somebody wants to hear about or our take on it, let us know. And I don't know if you got any.
That's it. Take care,
closing
folks.
words?
Be safe out there.
All right. Thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like